Welcome back to the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast, a weekly podcast where we look at the history and development of video games. I'm your host, RxDude22. We continue on with Season 3 today, as we are counting down my top 25 NES games of all time. To recap so far, number 25 was Super Dodgeball, number 24 was RC Pro-Am, number 23, Adventure Island, number 22, Kid Icarus, number 20 was Duck Hunt. This week we look at the number 20 game, which ironically enough was packaged with Duck Hunt originally when the Nintendo was released in 1985 in North America. It also came with a very cool gaming accessory called Rob. We're going to talk about Gyromite today. Let's dive into the podcast. Gyromite, also known as Robot Gyro, is a video game released in 1985 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, designed for use with the Robotic Operating Buddy, also known as Rob. Gyromite is one of two games in Nintendo's Robot series, the other being Stack Up. The opening screen of the game shows the title Robot Gyro, the Japanese name of the game, released for the Famicom. Essentially, the Gyromite game program is unchanged from the Famicom Robot Gyro cartridge, and in fact, many Gyromite cartridges contain the circuit board from a copy of Robot Gyro, attached to an adapter that allows the game to be played on NES systems. Famicom games had 60-pin connectors, so the adapter converted the game so it can be used with a 72-pin connector in an NES. Internationally, minded collectors may look inside Gyro cartridges for a Famicom cartridge adapter, though these pin converters are rare and many Gyromite carts were made without them. Plot of the game. Professor Hector and his assistant, Professor Vector, navigate side-scrolling platform levels with the help of their creation, Rob. Their lives are threatened by dynamite and hungry little lizards called Smicks, and Professor Hector's sleepwalking tendencies get him in trouble as well. Gameplay. You play as Professor Hector, a somewhat aged scientist, as he must traverse his expansive laboratory in order to collect and defuse the dynamite which is scattered across his lab. You have a set about 8 minutes to use Rob to move gyros around in the real world, so either the A or the B button on the second controller will be pressed, causing the blue and red pillars in the game to move up or down. You cannot jump, but you can climb vines, use moving pillars to go up or down, or fall off platforms to move through the level. You must also avoid the many Smicks, which wander around the stage, which will bite the player when touched. Smicks can be distracted using turnips, which can be found and picked up in some levels. While distracted, the Smicks stop moving and can no longer harm you temporarily. Pressing select will allow you to direct Rob, but you'll have to stop moving, which can possibly leave the player in a vulnerable state. There is also a two-player mode where the players will switch controllers periodically, with player 2 controlling Professor Vector during their turn. Alongside the two-player mode, there is also an endless Game B mode where you must control Rob to move pillars so that the sleepwalking Professor Hector doesn't get stuck or hurt. Two more functional options include the Test and Direct modes, each serving as a way to set up and test the Rob unit and ensure that it can properly interact with the game, using the green screen flashes. During the test mode, a green flashing box is displayed in the middle of the TV screen, which sends a signal to the Rob to light up the small red light on its head, ensuring that the connection works. Direct mode allows you to directly control Rob using controller, using the D-pad to move its arms, and A and B to open and close its arm. Controls. During robot transmission mode, up, down, left, and right move the arms. A opens the arms, and B closes the arms. While controlling either professor, left and right moves them horizontally. Up and down are used to climb ropes. The A button picks up or drops a turnip. Start switches to robot transmission mode. Select pauses the game, and pressing left or right while paused will scroll the screen. Rob accessories. In order to play the game correctly, you need to have the following items: a CRT type television, other types will not work with the Rob, 2 gyros, 1 gyro holder, 1 gyro spinner, and 1 controller tray. Game modes. Game A, 1 or 2 players. In this mode, the player controls both Rob and a Professor character, switching on the fly. Professor Hector, Player 1, and Professor Vector, Player 2, must collect all the bundles of dynamite in each of 40 successive levels. When the player presses start, the screen turns blue. The professor looks outward from the screen toward Rob, and the next button pressed issues one command to Rob. Every command to Rob must be preceded by a press of the start button. Wandering smicks are a threat, but are harmless when eating the terms found throughout the phases, which the professor may pick up and move at will. A smick crushed in a gate is worth 500 points. Bundles of dynamite are worth 100 points. Seconds left on the clock after each level are worth 100 points. 5 extra lives are supplied. Game B, 1 player. In this mode, Professor Hector is sleepwalking, and the player controls only Rob. Commands need to be preceded by the start button, as Rob is controlled directly. The professor starts at the left edge of the screen and walks slowly toward the right side of the screen. If he hits a gate, he'll just continue to walk straight into it until it moves out of his way. The player must use Rob to move the gates, allowing the professor to reach the right side of the screen. Smicks are present in this mode, but they mostly confine themselves to dead ends. There are 25 phases in this mode. 3 extra lives are supplied. Test. Serves only to confirm that Rob can receive signals via the television. Pressing select sends a signal that should cause his red LED light to light up. Direct. In this mode, no game is played. Commands are simply sent directly to Rob. First-time players or players who just want to operate Rob without playing Gyromite can use this mode to deliver Rob's commands. Pressing up or down on the directional pad causes the arms to move up and down. Left and right makes the arms swivel counterclockwise and clockwise. The A button opens the arms, and the B button closes them. Now we'll look at the history and development of our robot operating buddy, Rob. Rob is a toy robot accessory for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was launched in July 1985 as the Family Computer Robot in Japan, and October 1985 as Rob in North America. Its short lifespan yielded only 2 games in the robot series, Gyromite and Stack Up. Following the North American video game crash of 1983, Nintendo elevated that fearful retail market by rebranding its Japanese Famicom video game console as the Nintendo Entertainment System. A new platform focused on Rob to further reclassify the system as a uniquely sophisticated toy experience instead of simply as a video game console. Computer Entertainer called Rob the world's only interactive robot. The NES's extensive marketing plan immediately and successfully centered on Rob with the October 1985 test market launch in Manhattan, New York. This was Nintendo's debut in North American video game console market, which eventually revitalized the entire video game industry. Rob was quietly discontinued a few years later and became remembered as a successful Trojan horse of marketing. He is a cameo or playable character in many Nintendo games such as the Super Smash Bros. Series. History and development. The new Nintendo of America subsidiary, having already successfully bet its own launch upon its conversion of its failed Radar Scope 1980 arcade game cabinets and into the successful new Donkey Kong 1981 arcade cabinet, wanted to debut in the home video game console market using the Japanese parent company's successful Famicom system. But the entire American video game industry, which had been devastated by the video game crash of 1983, first needed a relaunch. Following the crash, many retailers had lost confidence in the Atari-led video game market even while the toy market was strong. With a high volume of low-quality products and dead inventory shovelware, some retailers and industry critics considered video gaming to be a passing fad altogether. Therefore, Nintendo spent much of 1984 reconceiving its family computer Famicom platform from Japan to be portrayed in America not as a traditional video game console, but as a new kind of sophisticated entertainment experience. Nintendo saw the industry's overwhelming trend away from game consoles and toward home computers, but its prototype of a lavish Famicom-based home computer and multimedia package called Advanced Video Game System, or AVS, was poorly received at the January 1985 Winter Consumer Electronics Show, so that was redesigned into a cost-reduced toy motif. The Famicom's whimsical appearance was again rebranded with a serious naming and industrial design language similar to the AVS, called the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. The NES is based on a console called the Control Deck, which is shaped like high-tech video file equipment with a front-loaded and door-enclosed cartridge port in the style of the modern VCR, instead of a typical top-loaded video game console. The Family Computer Robot, a recent niche entry into the Famicom's aftermarket accessory lineup in Japan on July 26, 1985, is a mechanized toy robot with working arms and crude eyesight, resembling a cross between E.T. and R2-D2. It was designed and patented by veteran Nintendo designer Gunpei Yokoi, used as a functional companion for playing select video games within a custom playset. It was recolored for the NES and was thrust forth as essential to the NES's new identity as a futuristic robot-powered experience. The Milwaukee Journal said, "The key to the NES is the interactive robot. You no longer have to fight only the aliens on the screen. You have a robot to contend with as well." Computer Entertainer called it the world's only interactive robot because no other video game system or home computer package ever had one, greatly distinguishing the NES to retailers and consumers alike. Nintendo of America staff received the first Rob shipment from Japan, initially thrilled with anticipation while unboxing and using the robot. Howard Phillips remembered, "The technology was so cool, like voodoo magic, but then his actual motion was just hysterically slow." Nintendo marketing executive Gail Tilden recalled, "That thing was definitely like watching grass grow. It was so slow and tried and stand there and sales pitch it in person and to try to make it exciting. You had to have the eyes lined up just right or it wouldn't receive the flashes. It was kind of a challenge." Product designer Don James laughed. "Gyromite was hard as hell, so you really had to think 2 or 3 moves ahead to allow him to do what he was going to do. But it's cool to look at, right? It was a really neat, unusual little device, and it was fun to play. But again, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, I wouldn't want to do it for 40 hours." Tasked with all the NES's naming and branding, the sole marketing staff member, Gail Tilden, said the name was originally going to be Otto, which was a play on the word auto, A-U-T-O, but she settled on Robotic Operating Buddy, or ROB, R-O-B. As the centerpiece of the new NES platform, ROB was revealed at the Summer Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago in June of 1985. Nintendo's brochure for attracting distributors shows a prototypical hybrid between AVS and NES with ROB saying, "The future of home entertainment is staring you in the face. Our new video robot is the first of a long line of winners to come from Nintendo. And that ROB is the star of the new entertainment system that's programmed to make you rich." The robotic persona reportedly worked like a charm to drive intrigued visitors to Nintendo's booth, but nobody signed up to be a distributor of the upcoming NES. IGN reflected that ROB might have been the key to getting the system into players' hands, and once they had players, Nintendo's convinced the rest would be easy. Release. Nintendo anticipated that ROB's flair for futurism, personality, and physicality was so crucial to the success of the NES that the toy was featured prominently in much of the advertising media of the system and its game library, even more than any particular game and even with only one robot game. The robot was portrayed as a bridge between the player and the game. The retail floor displays were each topped with a huge ROB head model, and the launch party centered on a colossal robot replica with many small silver-plated robot models. The toy robot is the highlight accessory within the first and most premium NES consumer product offering, the Deluxe Set, boxed bundle of Control Deck, ROB, Zapper Light Gun, Gyromite, and Duck Hunt, which was my number 21 game. The NES was launched as the Deluxe Set in the October 1985 test market of New York City, then in further test markets including Los Angeles, Chicago, and San Francisco, and finally nationwide. The NES's design language with ROB and the Zapper recategorized the retailer's perception of the NES from a video game to a toy. This bypassed the crashed video game stigma and launched it more safely from the toy section of retail stores, next to established hit robot toys like Transformers, Voltron, GoBots, Teddy Ruxpin, and Laser Tag. Soon in 1985 came the second and final entry in the robot series, Stack Up, packaged separately along with its own physical game pieces. The NES was soon sold much more popularity in the form of only the Control Deck and Super Mario Bros., without ROB. Optionally, Gyromite was repackaged separately, and ROB was repackaged separately for $49.99 US. Man, I wish I still had that price today. I would grab one in a heartbeat. In the following few years, ROB and the 2-game robot series was quietly discontinued. Hardware. The patent underlying the Rob product was filed by Gunpei Yokoi as photo-sensing video game control system with the same optical electronics as a zapper, and likewise only functions correctly with a cathode ray tube or CRT television and not an LCD. Games can send 6 distinct commands to Rob by flashing the screen. The test feature within Gyromite and StackUp sends an optical flash that should activate Rob's red light. Legacy. After many failures, the late edition of Rob gave a key product distinction to the launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System, reclassified the platform as a toy, and served as a, quote, Trojan horse to enable the platform's successful launch. This in turn secured the survival of Nintendo of America and revitalized the entire video game industry. A follow-up promotional poster from Nintendo simply pictured Rob and said, "They said reviving the video game market wasn't humanly possible." It wasn't. Rob has made cameo appearances in many video games such as Star Tropics 1990 for NES, F-Zero GX 2003, the WarioWare series, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 2015 3DS, and the Star Fox series. Rob is an unlockable character in Mario Kart DS, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, each of which refers to Rob as male. In Brawl's adventure mode, the subspace emissary, Rob plays a major role in the plot. As part of the Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, Rob has 2 amiibo figurines, uniquely produced in both the gray and the white NES color scheme, and the red and white Famicom color scheme. Rob is the avatar for TazBot, a tool-assisted speedrun software bot for video games. Some more facts about Gyromite. This game is one of the only 2 games that support Rob, the other game being StackUp. Unlike StackUp, this game is fairly common because it was included as a pack-in title with the NES Deluxe set. This game is the only appearance of the Smic enemy, and the last appearance of Professors Hector and Vector. Some copies of the game have a hidden Famicom to NES adapter inside of them, which is present only because Nintendo was rushing to release the game on time and chose to simply put the Famicom version of the game inside an NES shell. Other games that have this adapter include Clu Clu Land, Excite Bike, and StackUp. All information today was provided by Nintendo Wiki and Wikipedia. And that'll wrap up episode 38 of the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast. We're here in season 3. We're counting down my top 25 NES games of all time. You can check out the podcast several different ways. There's a video presentation of it on YouTube. You can also listen to it on Spotify or your other favorite listening platform as well. We'll be back next week with number 19 on my countdown. It's been RxDude22 from the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast signing out. Keep on gaming. See you on the next stream. Be good to each other. And you'll see and hear me on the podcast next week. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Take care.